After a value increase of more than 40%, GT3 price trends are flattening. Prices for some generations even decreased by 4% during Q2, and this might signal that we are close to a tipping point. Let's investigate what happened in the GT3 market and if it is a good moment to buy or sell a GT3. As always, we'll start with a market overview so that we're all on the same page. Over here we have the market at the end of July split by generation. In total it consists out of 251 cars, and this means that supply is way up from the 155 cars in April. But more about that later. If we namely look at the prices, we can see a few interesting things. First of all, the 996 and especially 997 generations are priced at 991 or even over 991 price levels. These cars are really collectible items and, as you can see, a lot more rare. You can also see that the mileage and the spec level is extremely important for these older cars. The price variation is extremely large. Moving on, we can see that the 991.1s hover around $150,000, while the 991.2s sit at $211,000. That's a premium of $61,000 or 41%. And as you might know, there were some issues with the 991.1 that were solved with the 991.2 introduction. And this is clearly reflected in the prices. The 992 is another significant step up, as they tend to go for $309,000. You can see that there are a few cars advertised way below that at MSRP, but I doubt that you can get them for those prices. More realistic prices start at $280,000 and go up to $350,000. These cars are in high demand, and if you want one, you need to pay up. Now before I forget, I need to mention that all of these prices over here exclude the touring models, so keep that in the back of your mind. But now then, if you watched my previous GT3 market update or my exotic car market update, you know that GT3 price trends are flattening. And this did not change during Q2. We can see a continuation of the slowdown, and this further reinforces that the big price surge is over. However, we can see now for the first time in 2 years that prices are coming down for some generations. Moreover, these price drops are accompanied by upward sloping supply trends. And these are all early indicators that we might be close to a tipping point in the market. But please don't get me wrong, it is too early to say that the market is tipping. We can only say that the current developments might indicate that we are close to a tipping point. There are also market segments that didn't see a price decrease, but let's see what that's all about. We will start with the price trends for the older models and then work our way up to the 992. Over here we have the price trends for the 996, 997.1 and 997.2. Now before we look at the developments, I need to mention that supply is very low in these markets, and the consequence of this is that there is a lot of uncertainty in the pricing. The shaded areas indicate the degree of uncertainty, and you can see that these are especially large for the 996. So please keep this in the back of your mind. When we look at the price trends, we can see that prices are very high compared to October 2020. 996.2 prices are up by 52%, 997.1 prices by 80% and 997.2 prices by 42%. Those are dazzling numbers. The price increases are even so large that 997s are now more expensive than 991.1s. However, as we can also see in the rest of the market, prices are flattening and in some cases even decreasing. From January onwards we can see a decrease in the increase rate, and compared to April we can see a flat development or a price drop. 996 prices decreased by 3.3%, 997.1s by 2% and 997.2s were flat. Now we need to be realistic here. These price increases are so small that they might be the result of chance. There is definitely not enough evidence to say that the market is turning, so there's no reason to panic. They are just early indicators, and another early indicator is the supply level. We can see that supply levels have been increasing slightly in the 996 and 997.2 market, but that it is really the 997.1 market that sticks out. With 16 cars listed for sale, the supply level is a multiple of what we have seen during the last 1.5 years. Again, this is not per definition tied to the price drops, but it is something to take into account. So to sum up the 996 and the 997 generation, we can say that price trends are flattening or slightly decreasing, and the supply trends tend to be up. But does all of this translate to the most popular GT3 generation, the 991? Let's find out. But before we do so, if you enjoyed this video and would like to support the channel, please click on the like button down below. Thank you. Over here we have the price trends for the 991.1 and .2, and just as in the 996 and 997 markets, prices are up. A 991.1 cost 21.4% more than in January 2020, while this is 24.3% for the 991.2. Prices for the latter generation really shot up between November 2020 and July 2021, after which they stabilized. Since July 21, prices increased by only 3.8%. And this is approximately the same as the 2.9% increase in the 991.1 market, but the price development during this period differs slightly. 991.1 prices namely decreased by 4.2%. And that is quite a large price decrease for such a short time horizon. Moreover, the price decrease is statistically confirmed, and this means that it is unlikely to be the result of chance. If we quickly zoom in to the 991.1 market and have a look at the price distributions for the different timestamps, then we can see that the market bottom remained approximately the same, but that everything above the market bottom came down. If we look at the brown and purple line, we can see that they are approximately the same at the market bottom of, let's say, between $130,000 and $135,000. However, above that price point, we can see that the brown distribution is skewed much more to the left and has a much lower market top. So this picture confirms that it might be a real shift what we are witnessing. But let's involve the dot 2 in the story. You see, it's quite remarkable that there's such a big difference between the two generations. Naturally, the dot 2 features many improvements over the dot 1, and perhaps it is fair to say that, objectively, the dot 2 is the better car. Now that's not my opinion, just what I gather from the reviews. Another reason for the differences between the two generations might be the mileage development. The mileage increased much more in the dot 1 than in the dot 2 market. A third reason might be the engine warranty for the dot 1s. The dot 1s are known to have engine problems and many got a completely new engine. As a response to customer concerns, Porsche issued a 10-year or 120,000 miles warranty for the engine. And this of course means that the engine warranty for a 2014 car starts to approach its end. And if I'm an owner of a 2014 car with an original engine, I might start to think about selling the car. After all, prices increased a lot and are now flattening, so it would be a good moment to sell. Moreover, the seller might be thinking that he or she is slightly ahead of the market, as it still takes 2 years before the warranty ends. No one really knows what will happen with the values after those 2 years. Yet, many are wondering. There are numerous red list threads about this issue. Now I'm not sure if this is a coincidence or not, but it are also the cars from model year 2014 that saw the largest price decrease. But it's very difficult to link this directly to the warranty issues. It's rather early. Also, it is my understanding that the cars that have a new engine, or the so-called G6 engine, should be fine. But I'm not sure what percentage of dot 1s already have this engine. If some of you know more about this, please share it in the comments section. I'm 100% sure that there are some GT3 aficionados among the viewers. Anyways, enough talk about the 991.1. Let's go back again and look at the full 991 market. So we have a flat price trend for the dot 2 market and a price trend that dipped in the dot 1 market. Again, just as in the 996 and 997 market, these developments are not sufficient to call it a tipping point. However, just as in those 996 and 997 markets, we can see supply increases. You can see that supply in the dot 1 market is at its highest point since November 2020, but still low compared to January 2020. Supply in the dot 2 market also increased and is above November 2020 levels. Yet, it appears to be a natural fluctuation. And with that, I think we talked enough about the 991 generation. Let's move on to one of the hottest cars of the moment, the 992 GT3. It's no secret that demand for these cars is high and that they are going for way more than MSRP. Now the good news is that prices are coming down, but the bad news is that they won't be at MSRP anytime soon. Over here we can see that compared to January, prices are down by 4.8%. Yet, most of this drop was taken between January and April. In that period, prices dropped by 3.1%, which means that the drop in the most recent period was only 1.7%. And it were especially the prices at the market bottom that came down. Prices at the top end of the market, so for the low mileage, high spec cars, remained flat. Looking at the data, there are two apparent reasons why prices came down. The first one is the mileage increase. New cars took their first depreciation hit as they gathered a few miles. However, it's not just this. Also, a like-for-like comparison shows that cars with the same mileage are slightly cheaper now. And this might be the result of a supply increase. We can see that it increased from 25 cars at January to 73 cars at the end of July. And with that, it's time to wrap up and conclude. Looking at all of these price trends, it is clear that the market slowed down. That's a fact. 2 quarters ago we were seeing mostly price increases, while we are seeing flat developments or price decreases in the current market. Only the 997.2 and 991.2 generations saw a flat development. 992.1s, 997.1s and 996s saw very small drops of approximately 2 to 3%. But some of these price drops can of course be the result of chance. With a price drop of 4.2%, the 991.1 segment is the only one that saw a significant price drop. As we discussed, it might be related to the ending warranty period. But then again, it is a bit early for that and there are also other factors at play here. The fact that prices decreased in one segment and are leaning towards the downside in many other segments might indicate that we are close to a tipping point. And this is further reinforced by the supply levels. We can see that supply is up for all generations. Again, I feel like a broken record, but I want to emphasize that all of this is not enough to say that the market is tipping. It does, however, signal that we might be approaching a tipping point. Hence, we can conclude from this video that the market slowed down and could be close to a tipping point. Now, if you like this data-driven approach of analyzing car markets, but would like to see the analysis for a different car, let me know the car for which you would like to see an analysis by commenting the name of that car down below in the comment section. Once there are enough requests for a certain car, I will make a video about it. While you're at it, don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell so you get actually notified when your requested analysis goes live. And with that, we arrived at the end of this video. As always, thank you for watching and I hope to see you next week for a new market update.